Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yes, hello from my side and welcome to the next Snapshot webinar. Today, we would like to give you a brief introduction to our new StableNet Innovation Lab. And yeah, I would like to start with a short explanation of what is behind the Innovation Lab, what our motivation for the new lab is, and what we hope to achieve through it. And then I will present first example projects from the lab and give a more detailed overview of one specific POC. So yeah, let's get started right away. Perhaps one more information in advance. I will include our homepage in the presentation so that you can see directly where you can find what and also read things again if necessary. But yeah, now to the Innovation Lab and what it's all about. First, information about the Innovation Lab can be found, as the name suggests, on our homepage under the StableNet Innovation tab. And there you will find a short description and a quote from Dr. David Hock, our director of research, which describes the lab and the motivation behind it quite well. In concrete terms, it is about the fact that we at Infosim also realize that today we live and work in a world that is characterized by high speed and high uncertainty. We constantly see new technologies, approaches, etc., that are important for us or our product, or that may even turn the market completely around. Examples, I'm pretty sure all of you know them pretty well, are, for example, artificial intelligence, see ChatGPT or GPT-4, maybe in a few years quantum computers, but of course also smaller approaches like net confiant telemetry, etc. And with the StableNet Innovation Lab, we want to tackle especially these topics together with our customers and partners, namely in such a way that we align research findings and practical application or relevance as well as possible. And yeah, the goal is, with a view to StableNet, to drive innovation, whether incremental, that means selective improvements, so to say, or disruptive, that means game changers that change the market completely in such a way that our customers notice an added value for them. So maybe in addition, in this context, I should underline, like David said here, we have always appreciated the feedback and the exchange with our customers and partners, and that this exchange has been always a valuable source. But with the Innovation Lab, we would like to make this exchange even more structured or more efficient or more open, especially on the research side from the beginning, and especially with the view of the large number of new technologies and approaches. So we want to remain as close as possible to the needs of our customers, our partners in all the current topics. So apropos topics maybe, we at Infosim in research have currently defined the following research areas. So for example, quantum communication, where we look at how we can consider the issue of encryption in the age of quantum computers in StableNet, or how future visualizations can look like. Another topic is quality of experience, where we look at the user's rating rather than hard metrics in terms of quality of service. Or of course, network technologies like 5G, 6G, or stuff like that. And of course, AI, where we have already had requirements discussions with some customers and are looking at forecasting or other topics. But yeah, more on this later. And Yeah, within these research areas, or this 6 research areas, we would like to work openly and together with our customers and partners, again, on smaller, different, relevant and concrete projects, or sub-projects, so to say. So for example, within AI ops, in forecasting techniques or similar things. Okay, so now I have already mentioned several times that we want to use the Innovation Lab to work on topics and innovations in an even more structured, efficient and open way right from the beginning. But what does that mean exactly? And suitable to this and to the topic of open innovation, by the way, this is what this general approach is called. We at InfoSim have defined a corresponding process, and we would like to orientate ourselves on this process. And I would like to show it to you briefly. You can see it here once, and also in a separate blog post, which I've written especially for this topic. And wait, I have the blog post opened in a separated tab, and scroll down. Here we have the process again, and so here is our open innovation process, so to say. And when you look at the picture a little closer, first of all, you see a rocket with different stages, and the basic idea is that we would like to develop ideas for a project within the 6 research areas, together with customers and partners at the beginning, similar to what we have already done, for example, to the requirement discussions carried out in the area of AI and ML. And based on these ideas, more concrete, then we work together on the first POCs and experimental tests, and see whether the idea can basically be implemented in reality. And if this is the case, we move on to the next step of the prototype, or then to the MVP or pilot phase, and hopefully or finally to the implementation in our product. But just as important as the different stages are, there are also the errors here at the bottom of the picture, because in the context of the open innovation approach, it should be possible to give feedback or corresponding contributions at any time or at each stage. And by the way, maybe I have forgotten to say that we have chosen this representation of the rocket not only because of the new StableNet Innovation Lab logo, but the rocket shows also quite well that the closer we get to the network management market, or the closer we get to the StableNet product, the more concrete or touchable the contents become. Okay, perhaps so much for the introduction of the Innovation Lab. Then the next question is now maybe, how can I become part of the lab or view individual projects? And to show this, I will go back to the homepage and jump over to our community portal. I have also opened it already. So yes, I'm in the community portal. And in the community portal, we have added the StableNet Innovation Lab tab here in the menu bar. And under the current collaborative projects, the currently available projects can then be viewed. So I have already opened it here. And as you can see, we have already set up a few projects with so-called info cards. So for example, this one here is the first info card. But before I present some of the info cards, maybe some basic information about the structure. So first of all, each of the info cards contains a user story next to the title, which from the perspective of a potential user answer the question of who wants what and why. And through this user perspective, we think that we stay close to the practice and at the same time explain the motivation why we work on a specific topic. Another point is that you can also see from the icon here or which research area this info card comes from. This one, for example, comes from the area of AI Ops. And in addition, each info card contains also a status information. This information is based on the phases of the open innovation process, the rocket, so to say. And here, for example, we are already in the POC phase, so the second phase, and have investigated the first experimental approaches. When you are now interested in a particular topic, you can pass on this information to us here on the right. And if you, more concrete, if you find the topic interesting but do not want to be actively involved in the development process, so for example, not as a feedback provider or someone who would like to try out existing code or stuff like that, you can check the second box, and then you will receive selective updates via a dedicated newsletter on this topic. And if you're also interested in an active participation, so as I mentioned, as a feedback provider or something like that, you can also check the first checkbox here. And especially when you are interested in actively participating, we will then contact you to discuss the further procedure and activate access to the separate development environment. That means our new StableNet Innovation Lab portal. This separate development environment then contains various modules depending on the status of the corresponding project. So, for example, a common code repository with Jupyter notebooks, a library with further user stories and use cases, maybe a forum, and so on and so forth. Okay, as I already mentioned, we have currently posted 5 projects once, and I would like to introduce you the first one here a little more detailed. It has the name Anomaly Analysis with Event Store. And as we can see from the icon, it comes from the AI Ops area. And as you can also see, this card is already in the second stage of the POC, which means that we have already started first experimental tests and could provide some code via Jupyter notebooks for feedbacks, for example. And from this code, I would like to show you now a few snippets in a separate Jupyter notebook. And wait, I jump to the next window. And in the Jupyter notebook, we first see the higher level user story, the status, and so on and so forth, the area again. And after we loaded the packages and the desired measurements, I think you already know this from Snapshot webinars on AI Ops from the last year. We then can take a look at the loaded data in a time series. And here we are dealing with the average in octets for the period December 2022 to around about 10th of April 2023. And what you also know from the last year's Snapshot webinars is the detection of anomalies with different algorithms. Of course, visually, you can already see the first ones here also in the first plot. But I also have added here the quantile-based anomaly detection again. And for example, considering the top 1% as an anomaly, we can detect the anomalies with the red points in our example here. And various discussions with our customers on the topic of AI Ops at the end of the last year and the beginning of this year have now shown that it can also be interesting to be able to explain anomalies in addition to detecting them. And this is where we came up with the idea of a so-called event store that allows you to flexibly place different events, such as football matches that can be streamed, holidays, esport or update events on a time series, and receive potential explanation of peaks. And here in the following, for example, we include ICS files with the German holidays as well as football Champions League games. So I have added it here. And if we then look at the plot again, it is visible that holidays may play a minor role here, but the Champions League matches could be a factor. Wait, I zoom a little bit in. But also one can see here that perhaps other events are maybe also important for some additional peaks. And yeah, that's why we would like to set up an event store here. And I have included an overview of further events that we can potentially integrate at the moment. Examples are, as partly already mentioned, gaming updates, esport events, maybe also ticket systems like Jira, and so on and so forth. And if we include them all in the plot, it looks a bit wild, to be honest, whereby we can see, for example, that in this example, Jira or the inclusion of Jira issues or tickets might be useful here. Okay, now we have looked at the anomaly detection and the anomaly declaration, but maybe we now can go one step further. And in addition to the analysis of past time series data based on events, our info card also includes forecasting based on this data. So yeah, more concrete, if I know that various past peaks can be explained by, for example, Xbox or Nintendo updates or Champions League games, we can perhaps use this information to predict the traffic for the next update or Champions League game, because this event is maybe already known. And that's what we tested here with the Facebook profit algorithm. More specifically, we looked at the next 30 days plus the past, which the Facebook profit also takes into account. And in the picture, we see that the algorithm with the blue lines does not yet match the actual values, the black dots perfectly. But yeah, of course, this is not surprising since we look at a relatively small data set, and we also maybe have to make a few more adjustments, because currently, for example, we treat every Champions League match the same, regardless of it is a final match or a group match, so to say. But what we also see is that there are some peaks predicted in the future. We can see it here on the right in the month May. And maybe if we look at this again with another representation, then we see that these peaks are exactly. Wait, I zoom a little bit in. If we take a closer look to this peaks, we see that we have on 18th of April, so yesterday and today, new peaks, which can be explained by Champions League games. So here we have quarterfinals, today also quarterfinals, and here we have the first semi-final. So in terms of the POC, the original idea seems to make sense. And I don't want to go into more detail about forecasting here, because we already covered this in a separate Snapshot webinar last year. And yeah, on the other hand, we are happy to explore this topic further in collaboration with our customers and partners. Okay, so much maybe for this info card, the anomaly analysis with an event store. And at the end, maybe just a small addition, because what this POC perhaps show quite nicely, and I see I have put also the picture of the rocket here again, is that now we can take into account a lot of opportunities for another feedback, contributions from our customers, from our partners here. And at the end, I have written these potential contributions here again. So for example, of course, feedback on the current approach. Is this a good approach? Is this a bad approach? Or maybe which other events could be interesting for our customers, our partners? Or are there any special aspects to some events? So for example, is maybe the evening before public holidays interesting? Or how could a user interface look like? Above, we saw that simply including all events in one plot could be very, very confusing. And yeah, lots of another feedback. Okay, perfect. And yeah, at the end, I would now briefly introduce you the other info cards again. I switch back to the window in our community portal. So another current info card, for example, is the application monitoring. And with regard to application monitoring, we would like to align our idea with customers and partners to be able to monitor individual applications. So, for example, Microsoft Teams and so on. And in this context, to include, for example, information from corresponding information websites. In Germany, we have websites like allestörungen.de or stuff like that, or include user feedback, etc. But as you can see, the status shows here that this is just an idea at the moment. We are also currently working on interactive visualizations that go beyond 2D. You can see it here in this GIF on the left. And with this info card, we would like to support customers and partners, especially in the visualization of very large or very complex networks. And with the fourth info card, the network anomaly indicator, we also want to build on the Snapshot webinar from the last year. To be more concrete, we are currently working on a score that aggregates anomalies of individual time series and then shows the aggregated status, for example, of one measurement, of one device, or maybe the entire network, just like a traffic light, so to say. And last but not least, we are also working in the research field of quantum communication. I already mentioned this, and take a closer look on how we can deal with key distribution in the course of quantum computers in StableNet. And yeah, as you can see, the last three projects are already in the POC status. That means we could send test examples to those who are interested in active participation relatively quickly, and then you can test the code with your own server or your own data, similar to the presented event store info card. And yeah, now really my last point. In the next few weeks, we will post a few more projects. For example, maybe telemetry, metaverse, service visualization, etc. And also set up the possibility for you to send us your ideas with maybe a corresponding user story. Okay, this was my introduction to the StableNet Innovation Lab. Thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions don't hesitate to contact me. And yes, have fun with the new Innovation Lab. Thank you.